Greetings. Welcome to our Happy Basins Podcast. We're here today with Chuck from Chill Chondros. Hi, Chuck. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite.
I'm excited to talk about habitat and care. And it's always exciting for me to get to talk about what you guys do with your chondros, because that's a species I've never been familiar with, but I know that they're very similar, probably the two most similar between any pythons and boas out there, huh?
Yeah. I can actually hear myself talking. Like it's like a delay.
I hear you just fine, so I don't know if maybe you don't have your phone on or something, do you?
No, it's like a delayed speaker, almost like I could hear your audio.
What does everybody else say? Do you guys hear us both clearly? You're fine? So our producer says we're doing good. So I don't know.
Check. Let me see if I'm plugging the. No, yeah, I can still hear my echo.
Okay, we can't hear it. Do you think you can work through it, or do you want to take a second? I can talk while you try to work through it.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can exit and come back in.
All right, sounds good.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, you guys, I've never met Chuck until just right now, and I've been looking at a lot of his stuff on social media, and he has some gorgeous setups. It looks like he really tries to keep his animals, looking natural with his plants and a lot of neat things. It looks like he's also breeding green tree pythons, which a big difference between the green tree pythons and the emerald tree boas is that the pythons lay eggs and the boas give live births. So that's a really big difference between incubating eggs yourself, and just waiting for your animal to have a live birth. And I think the boas take a lot longer to have babies. And I'm interested to see what the differences are in the care between the chondro, is what they call green tree pythons, and the emerald tree boa. And I have a lot of other questions for Chuck that I don't know the answer to, about differences between the two species, and also little things like the scientific name of green tree pythons. How do you sound now, Chuck?
Mic check. I can still hear my echo. It's gonna screw me up.
I know exactly, because I've dealt with that before. If you want to take a minute and go ahead and just restart your whole system and see if that helps, because that's what helped me the other day when I was on with Jen. She suggested that and it worked.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. I'll be right back.
We will be here. Very good. I'm really excited about this podcast. I've always wanted to do a podcast, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I just want to give a shout out to Chris at Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Podcast Network for supporting this and doing the hard work that goes behind it, booking guests and putting out the video advertisements, using his YouTube channel, his network. So that's super exciting to have somebody interested in what we're doing here at Happy Basins to want to produce this podcast for us. So thanks a million, Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Podcast Network. You rock. We appreciate you a lot. And we're going to be here every week. We're going to start doing our podcasts on Tuesday evenings at 6 p.m. mostly, unless we have guests who need to have a different time. We do have a few bookings for Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is what I'm referring to. And so we'll finish out the bookings we have for Sunday, and then we'll do our best to move to a regular slot on Tuesday evenings, which is also very exciting for me, because Tuesday evenings are a great time that I have Larry here to work all of this technology for me. And as we continue moving on with podcasts and the live videos that we've been doing on our Happy Basins YouTube channel, we will be upgrading our equipment, and I'm excited to eventually be able to offer some of our amazing shirts that my daughter designed for us. You guys can see it's a I call it the Emerald Experience. For those of you who know my story, how I got into the emeralds, I had a dream vision very similar to this, where I was just surrounded by the snakes. And that's how I got into emeralds, was just through that feeling that I had wanted to be surrounded by snakes. And it turned out that these emeralds give me exactly that, because they are so handleable and friendly despite what they're known for. I'm just going to look at some of these comments here. So we're still working on technology. Hi, Tara, thank you for being here. Snake treasures, and usually I see Ghost up here, my friend Gabriel, and Morelia, Azoria. Morelia, I don't know where you're from. For some reason I want to say the Netherlands, but I can't remember if that was you or someone else the other night. And I just love having all of you guys here with us. While we're also here, I'll tell you guys about a couple of videos that I have coming up. I did a live video yesterday with Ron Rundo from Snakescapes on making our soaker hose vines for these animals. And that was very exciting, but Ron is going to come back and we're actually going to make another video that's not live, but a real video that's shorter, so that we can put it out and more people can see how we're making our soaker hose vines. But if you want to watch that live video, you can find it on my YouTube, on Happy Basins YouTube or Facebook. Hello, little person. I think I saw a lot of videos of you. Is that your snake helper there?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, my wife just looked at these. I can hear myself. I don't know why I can hear myself. It's like a 1 second play, I guess.
Yes, I know that's very frustrating. I tried to make it through. Okay, we'll see you later. Come back and say hi to us later, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
We're going to see if we can work through it. It's tough, though.
I know, I really do. Oh, Morelia, you're in the UK. Thanks for telling me. Yes, I just love seeing my friends here that have been following my Facebook and YouTube and Instagram pages to get to see them here on the Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Broadcast Network. Thank you all for coming. And lots of folks I don't know. Chuck, the little person that was just with you, is that your daughter?
Yes, that's my oldest daughter.
And is she the one that's on your Instagram a lot? I noticed you had one post where you said you had a 6-year-old helper.
Yeah, she's a 6-year-old.
Very cute. Well, I just love seeing posts with little ones with the snakes, because it really does show off the gentle nature of these animals.
Yeah, it's good getting them involved. The fear is actually learned, not bred.
I agree with that, absolutely. I have a lot of folks that come here and sit in my emerald room. I just love it when they bring the children.
Yeah, it's cool to see the. I guess my audio is fixed. I don't hear myself anymore, so that's good. Thank you, whoever. I think it's Chris in the background. Thank you, Chris.
Hi, Gabriel. Thanks for coming.
All right, good stuff. Now I can focus and actually talk. Always listen to myself, and I hate the sound of my voice. So I'm like, oh, that was stupid. I sound dumb now.
Yeah, we all feel that way about our voice, just because it's so much different than what we were used to hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're here tonight to talk about habitats, how we keep our animals. Like I was mentioning, Chuck keeps green tree pythons and I keep emerald tree boas. So we're going to talk about some of the differences in keeping and what we do to keep our animals happy. One of the things that Chris and I have in common that is very uncommon with each of our species is that we do handle our animals and let other people handle them too, right?
Yeah. My kids are always putting their fingers in some sort of a baby tub, taking stuff out.
So that's exciting for me because our mission here at Happy Basins is to show that these animals can be pets. They don't have to just be display animals. Which brings me to a question. Chris, you have had a lot of babies from what I can see on your social media.
Yeah, so I hatched out 28 neonates last year that perched up.
And how many different mothers does that come from?
Two. The first clutch was 10 good eggs. I had 8 hatch out, a couple deformities. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. 10 of them. Yeah, well, one died, 9 hatched out. I had one with no eyes and one with one eye. But 7 good ones. I kept all of them but one. Because that was that was one of my like kind of not dream pairings, but it was definitely on the top of the bucket list for the like type of stuff I wanted to create.
Yes.
No, you don't have to crawl. You can walk by. She stared at me, making me feel awkward.
He crawls all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, you should have just walked by because all we could see was
the yeah, so my first clutch I had was a small clutch, but it was definitely a clutch that I wanted to have. It was a much smaller female, first time mom. And then the second clutch I had last year, I had 21 good fertile eggs. I had 19 of those hatch and perch, and 1 parish store and establishing. But we have 18 that are all taking meals, and they were born in September, so I think they're 8 months old now.
Oh, same as me. My first litter was in September.
Yeah, congratulations. I was watching your page, and then there was like some sort of a it was like I don't know if you I didn't know if you were unsuccessful or slugged out, but there was like a real long pause, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to I've never spoken to you. I didn't want to reach out like if it was like a bad thing. I figured if it was really good, you'd have posted it, but I'm guessing you waited for him to get established before you started posting.
Well, actually, that litter that I posted is one that I just had it was April 12th. So how long ago was that? I have to look at the date. So maybe about 5 weeks ago now.
Is that your first litter?
That was my second litter. My first litter is the same age as yours, but I only have one. And that's the one that you had seen. And I did post. I'm a really good Facebook poster.
Okay.
And I used to post good on everything, but then someone said you have to do different material on the different social medias at different times, and it all got too confusing. So I literally just quit posting everywhere and just post on Facebook. But I'm trying to realize that it's better to just post the same thing everywhere than post nothing.
Yeah. I don't do Facebook, so I maybe post like one picture of my clutches on the groups, and then I skedaddle out of there because there's so much like negative stuff on that I don't want to be involved with it or have someone say something smart to me.
Yes, I have definitely had to learn to work through that. That was really hard for me at first, but I still don't post like in the major Emerald groups because it is like putting my hand on the hot stove.
Yeah. A lot of I call them Facebook lawyers.
Yes. But for me, all of my old friends and family, and I've just built a community on Facebook, which I'm extremely grateful for because it was the people in that community that made me be able to let go of all of the mean stuff that people say. But like I said, I still stay out of the groups for the most part.
Right.
Once in a while, I'll be a glutton for punishment and put something in there. But yeah, with my girl, she had her babies and I was posting on Facebook, oh, so many more days. She's this far. And then nothing was happening. So I just quit making those posts and put her live 24/7 on YouTube so that people could just hop on and check what was going on.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it saved me a lot of stress. And like Tara and Gabriel and Snake Treasures and Ghost, people who are here with us today, those are people who grew that community. I didn't even know them until Isis was going through that trouble. But we did end up with one baby who survived and is doing great. But she was pregnant for 192 days. And the longest anybody knows about an emerald having any living babies was 180 days. So it was just, it was a crazy thing, but we have our little Peo, and
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. I know I would probably, they're a lot harder to breed than green sharks. A lot harder.
that's what I hear. But
Yeah,
to me, eggs would be extremely difficult. Like, I don't have to do anything except wait, which is difficult too.
the eggs are my favorite part. I love the artificial incubation. It's become like almost an art. Like it's great because you can mess it up in a blink of an eye. You know, you're 40 days in, you can screw it up. I have stories where I almost did, just doing some, some silly stuff where you just had a lapse in thinking, and common sense wasn't the way to do it, or just thinking about, oh, maybe I should do this, and almost crashing an entire clutch. But I enjoy the egg stuff. I don't think I can wait there and watch a female for 192 days.
Not to mention the fact they don't eat the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any hair to pull out, so I'd be yanking on my girl's hair. Come here, let me.
You wouldn't have any eyebrows left. They would be all
Yeah.
fluffy.
Yeah, I would look like Steve-O from Jackass. I'd have no eyebrows, no nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was with Isis. Now the second one, Jormungandr, was crazy because I thought I was holding two males in my hand doing a live interview like this with Intrepid Exotics, and I was just holding the animals for like a whole hour. They were just really relaxed, and I turned them around to show their beautiful bodies that I could see right here, and down here their tails were all wound up and they were mating, and I was like, is Jormungandr a female? And so I went ahead and put them together, and literally like 3 weeks later she had the big ovulation. So she made it all look incredible. Easy. She had her babies at 154 days, and it all just went real smooth. So it'll just get easier, I think, hopefully. But I know all animals are different.
Yeah, I think it gets easier because you learn so much from when it wasn't that easy, that you just know what not to do to mess it up. And I think that's the most important thing, especially with getting advice from people. I like to pick people that have failed a lot, but also have experienced success, because they could tell me how not to screw up.
Yes. And finding people who, did have errors and then corrected them, it's even harder to find people who are willing to talk about those things or admit them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really interested in your babies that had no eyes or one eye. How does that work? Do they live? Is that a common thing? I think I saw a post about that recently. Maybe it was you.
Let me turn this light down real quick. I feel like one of those gas station lights are baking me right now. There we go. That might be a little bit better. There we go. This way it's not just a gigantic white blob on my bald head. So what had happened was early on in incubation, I want to say probably like 7 or 9 days into the incubation, we got hit with a nasty storm and power got knocked out. And I had kind of prepared, except I didn't fill my truck up with gas. So I was like, oh, I'll just run out and grab gas real quick. No big deal. And it took me forever. It took me like an hour and a half to find a gas station that had fuel. So I finally got back. I parked my pickup truck behind my house, and I ran an extension cord from the snake room out the window into the truck and idled it with a power inverter overnight, as I stayed up and I was manually bailing out my my sump pump pit because it was just like torrentially downpouring. So I think there's a possibility that during that that power outage or some sort of a temperature dip, I could have had some sort of birth defects form in the animals. That's the only thing I could think of. But realistically, I would probably say it's 50% that, or 50% it was just a genetic screw up. And I think that we just had, just some deformities. And they're not all meant to make it. That's why there's so many eggs or so many babies.
Right. Yes.
The no-eyed one, unfortunately, perished. I ended up giving it to a friend who is in charge of multiple vet hospitals. So he's got unlimited medical access at no cost to him or at very little cost. So I just thought it was the best possible chance for that thing to survive and live a decent life. So I just called him up. I said, hey, drive down here. And if you want, a snake, I said, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a hassle, but I was like, you can have it. Like, I'm not going to sell a snake that, is deformed like that. I'd rather see it go into your hands. And then the one-eyed one is actually still alive. Actually, a sergeant, my supervisor from work, he recently got into, I hung it out at work. I got him to buy some Williams Eye day geckos. So he's got those electric blue day geckos that he has. And then he was talking about getting a green tree. And I said, hey, man, if you just want to feed this thing chicken gizzards every 3 to 5 days and get it bigger until you can get it established, if you even can, it's yours. Come grab it. And that animal is still going. And my sergeant actually has another one that I had halfway given up on. And I just had so many babies. I was like, listen, man, this thing's never taken a meal on its own. And long story short, I kept a terrible one. He kept a terrible one. And they both clicked on like a light switch just recently after we started feeding button quail to him. So yeah, the one I want is with his half sibling living in totes next to each other elsewhere, but they're both doing really good.
Fabulous. I'm so glad that they got a chance like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one, well, it was a girl when I adopted her, but turns out she's a male. But she was born to somebody in South Florida who couldn't get him to eat, and sent him to Colorado to somebody who could feed him. And then we got the animal from that person. So he eats really good now. He's a super aggressive eater. So you just never know when they seem like they might not establish. They have every chance of establishing if we just keep working at it.
Yeah, it seems like once they get it, it's like they're like 10 times a better feeder than some of their siblings have been feeding from the beginning.
Yeah, truly, because this one is that aggressive. One of our most aggressive eaters.
That's neat. How long did it take to get established, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, that one was established before we got him, and we got him before he changed. And I don't have my chart in front of me, but I'm going to say he was probably about 7 months when we got him.
Oh, okay. So if it's anything like a chondro, I would say he may be a slight disadvantage in size, but I would say it's 7 months old. If they turn on right away, probably caught up to, where it should be, correct? In its life stage?
He is smaller than the other animals I have his age. And I'll tell you the interesting thing that Steve Volk is who was the one who saved him, mm-hmm. and who we got him from. And Steve Volk does some very interesting things. He starts them off by, and I'm just saying this is how he did this one. I have all of the paperwork and everything. Mm-hmm. He started him off by syringe feeding AD prescription cat food. It's like this super high energy prescription. You have to get a vet to prescribe it to you. And he syringe feeds the animal. I think the chart says it was 2 cc's. And then the animal shed, and then he did 4 cc's. And then he starts off on these little dwarf hamsters. The dwarf hamsters have an extremely high heat index. And with my mm-hmm. babies, I didn't even bother with trying frozen defrosted. I just started breeding those hamsters, and now I have a whole hamster house, and they breed like mad. So I figure I'll just spoil them as long as I want to, and then switch them over once they're aggressively eating, which they do aggressively eat.
Yeah. Are they Russian dwarf hamsters?
I don't have Russian dwarf hamsters. I have just albino dwarf hamsters, but Steve Volk uses the Chinese dwarf hamsters. So okay. I've also got some of those, and I've been mixing them. And they are hot. They do have a high heat index compared to like the rats. But to finish off Steve Volk's regimen that he did is that he went to the hamsters, and then he got off the hamsters and shaved off a little bit of hair and put it on a frozen defrosted. And that's how he got him eating frozen defrosted. So that was an interesting process. Yeah.
I like that. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing right now with the same exact thing with the button quail. Same thing, just plucking a breast feather or two and just putting it on the tip of the nose, or I put them in the little mouth of the fuzzy. And it's funny how, they won't want anything to do with, some of the ones that aren't established won't even give a fuzzy a second look. But as soon as they get a whiff of one or two tiny little quail feathers, it's like game on.
Wow.
So I'm trying little by little weaning them off. And that's obviously they're not established, but they're eating really well. So I
Nice.
like to send them out when they're savagely eating, frozen thaw that aren't exactly like the hottest. If they cool off and they're still ripping them off the tongs, I think that's pretty much when I deem them established.
So now that your 7 months are getting a little older, are you going to be parting with any?
Yes, I just sent out, what am I now? I think 11 of them are all over the country and all have taken their first meals plus some. So they're all doing really good. They all got there safely. I just got hit with bad weather again through the Midwest. So I have one that needs to go to Utah, and it's kind of tough to time temperatures when you're in different parts of the country, especially when you're dealing with the hubs as well. But I guess like there's some tornadoes ripping through the Midwest or whatever. So we're getting to the end of the shipping window for spring, but I got to get this one out. So it looks like 2 weeks from now, I think is going to be the ship date for that one. And that'll be 12. And I have 6 upstairs. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. There's 6 upstairs. One is on its way out and one I'm keeping. 4 more are what I consider unestablished, but are eating meals. But I probably won't release them or ship them out at least until the fall. I want to give somebody something turnkey. I don't want to get a call that they're, having a problem.
That would be very difficult.
Yes.
On the part and the stress, all of it.
Yeah. Plus it's not fair to the animal. It's not fair to the client. It's just,
yes.
It would, if you try to rush, I think, and try to push something out 4 weeks before it's maybe ready, you're really going to set yourself back months. It's just not worth it. You got to, and luckily enough, I got a lot of support. I'm really thankful for everybody that supports me. So as far as, I guess it's not really a vetting process, but I have told more than enough people, I don't think it's going to work out. You might want to go to somebody different. I just don't like the people that are in a rush or impatient. It's every time you rush with these things, you're going to kill them.
Yes, I try very hard not to be that person because I know how it's easier to just go to somebody who's not asking too many questions or trying to do things. But it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, I always want like pictures of the enclosures that they're going to keep them in. I make them buy certain equipment, and if they don't want to, or say, oh, I can't afford to buy this and this, and well, you need this thermostat, man. Like you can't just do. It's just somebody tried to put one of my babies in an Exoterra with a heat lamp and guppies on the bottom, and I was like, no, man, no way. Just buy a tub and this and that. Oh, well, I just spent all this money on this. I can't buy a tub right now. Well, I don't think we're going to work out. So,
Well, I'm parting with 2 of my babies. I had 5 on my latest litter, and I have verbally adopted 2 out to folks. I didn't want to part with any at all. But the one fella has completely recreated what I've done here in our Happy Basins jungle room with the soaker hose vines and all of the exact equipment. His enclosures, you can't even tell the difference side by side if it's mine or his. So I had to absolutely give one up to him. And then the other one is a girl who's really working hard on doing the exact same thing. She has some time yet because they're, like I said, maybe 5 weeks old. So parting with them was extremely difficult. We didn't plan to part with any, but these people have spent so much energy trying to create, because, people ask me, how can I get one of your basins? And I say, well, they have to go to a home either as good or better than what I'm providing them.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, you have a very interesting setup. It's pretty neat. They can come out at night and basically interact with each other. And do they go back to their own enclosures?
Sometimes they do.
That's
They don't always,
incredible.
once I let them out, it takes me, I have to really prep the room. So they don't just
Mhm.
come out all the time. I try to let them come out, every couple months for maybe a week. And I'll let them out the week before they're going to eat. And then they can just stay out for a whole week. So within that week, they'll be going in and out of everybody's enclosures. Once in a while, one will just go stay somewhere warm if they're going to shed, or, I'll usually find that they're getting ready to go into shed. But they are usually all over the place. Folks have seen my night vision time lapses where throughout the night you can see these animals everywhere.
It's crazy. Yeah, I saw like, wait, I was like, that's a bunch of basins crawling around a room. That's wild. That's so cool. And then
And
you
I
have a hammock in there?
set my hammock and sleep in here. And the part that's really aggravating about that is silly to say anything would be aggravating about it, but I like, it's dark in here, so I can't actually see if there's an animal coming down to visit me. And
Right.
so then I try to look on my phone at the camera, keep it on full time, and I keep it in this
Mhm.
little sack and I try to pull it out and look at it. So the fact that I can't see where they are when I'm sleeping in here is just frustrating, because the only reason is because I want to see them. But yes, they're amazing and they're extremely social. I have a really cool video when I think I had 5 of them out at that time. And I came in to adjust a vine. I wanted to put a vine in going into an enclosure where one didn't come out, to make
Mhm.
sure they had a nice smooth path. And when I left the room, I'm turning the light off, I'm looking at my phone, and all 5 of the emeralds who were out all came to that vine to see what I had done. So they're so curious.
Wow.
The behaviors I get to experience with that is incredible.
That's really neat. That's so much different than anyone else is experiencing keeping them. That's so cool.
Yes, I wanted animals that were interactive, and my husband chose these particular animals. So at the beginning, I didn't know that they weren't interactive until I started posting stuff on Facebook. And of course, like we talked about, everybody's like, "Dee, dee, 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 that animal's going to die of stress. You can't touch these animals." So I actually didn't know that I wasn't supposed to touch them, but I had already started and everything was going great. And the animals the ones who, all of them, but the ones who just had this last full healthy litter of 5 are 2
Mhm.
of my best ambassadors, the male and the female, that everybody, if you guys look at my stuff, I do tours here. People come over and sit in my hammock and I pile them with all of these snakes at once. And Jormungandr and Cassius Clay are 2 of my best ambassadors. They still bred, had healthy babies. I hold the babies. I do a lot of controversial things around here at Happy Basins.
Hey, whatever you're doing, it's working. So
It's working.
don't let anybody else tell you what to do with your animals. As long
Yeah,
as you have as long as you have their safety and their health, in your best interest, and you obviously do. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
yes, thank you, Tara, for that. Yes, because I think that's one of the hardest things about breeding is, what are we going to do with all these babies? For me, I can't even imagine even sending out one of my babies to one of my great people who I know are going to give them a great home, because then what are they going to do with my grandbabies?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So at some point, we do have to let go. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
The coolest thing is too is a lot of just breeders in general don't want to deal with new time first time keepers. But man, I think majority of the people that I've sent my animals to were first time keepers.
We're first time keepers.
It's, I mean, that's the best. They listen the best. That they don't have anything, equipment wise, and they're looking to purchase equipment. So they ask for a suggestion. I give them 2 different options. You can go balls to the walls and have the best stuff, or we can completely do a budget, because these snakes thrive in just a $15 tote with,
Mhm.
minimal stuff other than really good thermostat, and a quality heating source, whether it be a heat panel. I use heat tape on some things, but I prefer a small heat panel, if they're going to be putting it into an enclosure.
Yes, we use heat panels. I've seen a lot of talk about infrared heat, and I looked into it, and I would love to use that because it really does seem like it emulates the sun's heat better than anything, but the whole setup looks extremely complicated and frustrating because you have to have that heat coming from somewhere, and then it has to be screened where the animal can't get to it. So we're just going to stick to our heat panels, even though I would prefer to do the infrared, something a little more natural. But we have to, as natural as I try to make it in here, we have to make compromises for what works and what we really want to do. So
it's funny you mentioned so naturalistic. I mean, as naturalistic as we can get, right? I mean, keeping them in captivity. But one thing I really do is, so I have the heat panels. However, I keep a little bit different than most. I know there's probably about a third of the community or less that keeps like me. I keep 12 hours of daytime heat. And then at night, I have a night drop for 12 hours every single evening. And I've noticed that when the lights go out or I time it with their circadian rhythm and it does get cooler, I'm getting much more regular defecations. My females are cycling and building follicles multiple times a year. It's almost like they're less sedentary or whatever. They just move around more. They drink more. They poop more. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a great way to keep, and it's actually easier once it's set up for breeding and stuff, because I don't adjust my temperatures at all to breed them. I just watch for my female's behavior and my male's behavior too.
yes, definitely. And Morella, yes, having a TV stand with a couple of green trees inside of it, that is pretty awesome. And that's what you have, right, Chuck?
Yeah.
I would like our TV. We have one TV in our bedroom, and I can fling the snakes cameras up to that TV. So when we first did all this, that was all we watched.
So they're actually 3 toad ranches. And then my buddy who's a cabinet maker, he made that for me. And that TV's mounted on the wall. That's the clearance I have in between my herp stats and my TV. So
Very
it's like,
nice.
so when I go to turn it, it like skims the top of the herp stats because I wanted to get them as high as possible and build it under the TV.
Yes, absolutely. Since we were talking about trying to make things as natural as we can, but we have to compromise to keep sterile environments and the different things that the animals need. I do see some people posting about keeping them bioactive or wanting to keep them bioactive. I do have a friend who is a master bioactive keeper and does everything, like has a business. He builds bioactive enclosures for people all over the world, and newly got an emerald tree boa and is having some problems with the emerald tree boa in the bioactive container. So, huge. It's huge. It's as big as 4 of my enclosures combined. It's a huge habitat. Absolutely beautiful. And I always say, if you're a master at bioactive and you're a master at the animal you're putting in it, then go for it. But those are the kind of compromises we have to make sometimes, because I don't know if yours need as much humidity as mine do. Do they?
See, I think that, humidity is important. If you're referring to like good sheds and hydration, I think hydration is more important than the actual humidity.
I agree.
I think that a lot of people, they get confused about what humidity actually is. They think that a wet cage is humidity, and that's not the truth. That's a breeding ground for bacteria if it's stagnant. You want to have, my snakes, when it's raining out, I will hose them, like to the point where I like to spray the heat panel and see the steam come off of it.
Me too.
I hose the entire enclosure. I hose the snake directly. The rain doesn't miss the snakes in the wild. And they sit like this because they drink the water off of their coils when it rains and drips down from the leaves. So I like to hose them down real good, and then by the next day or in 18 to 24 hours, it's gone. And the transmission of the water going from a liquid to a gas and then evaporating and traveling past them, that is what humidity is. So you have to keep up on it to keep the humidity up, or else you're just going to have a bunch of stagnant water and it's going to get nasty in there and you're going to get mold growth and stuff. It has to dry out. It has to.
We use a negative airflow in our enclosures for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. Do you use an airflow?
No, other than so I have a bunch of different types of enclosures, but these are the glass sliding doors. So there's a crack right there. It goes in there and up and out the vent in the back. But yeah, I don't have any like fans or any forced air or any negative pressure or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're using, computer fans?
Yes, we use the little computer fans, and it works really good. My whole MO, or my doctrine for what I do here is rain, rain, rain. These animals, I'll tell you the most heartbreaking thing I heard recently was, my emerald was dehydrated, so I don't even want to say this out loud. I put him in a pillowcase and soaked him in a tub. And soaking an emerald is not stimulating their natural drinking, what they want to drink when they feel rain on them. So putting them in a pillowcase in a tub or soaking them in any way is just stress and unnatural. Rain. And with the soaker hose vines, they come right out and go right into the shower. Before we had a fancy rain chamber and everything, our enclosures are all full rain chambers plumbed into the house and everything now. But before we had that, and even now my northerns that I have upstairs, they all just use the regular shower. I got a soft, gentle rain shower head and put it in the extra bathroom. And they just go in there. And boy, when it rains, these animals will literally, I have time-lapse videos where you could actually see them physically drinking for hours.
Wow. It's kind of scary. So do emeralds ever visit the water bowl?
Yes, they do. They drink out of the water bowl. Even more so after their rain shower.
Oh, that's funny. That's weird. They freak me out sometimes because sometimes they'll be drinking, but it's their whole face in the water. And it's like 30 minutes. I'm like, you need to breathe. Like, what are you doing? Like, and I'm like, hey, and I tap on the glass and I've obviously grown out of that because I'm like, okay, they're not going to kill themselves. But like, dude, you look like you're going to kill yourself. Like, don't do that, please. Like, you're freaking me out.
Yeah.
And it's their whole head. It's like all the way up to their fat reserves. And then all you see is just their face going like this. I'm like, all right, I guess he's still alive.
Yep, exactly the same with these guys. And if we change the nights that we change their water, well, what I do is I give them a fresh water bowl. And then over the next 6 days, I'll just keep adding, because I use big water bowls. I'll just keep adding more water. And then like on the 6th day, I'll clean it all out and give them fresh water. And they love that fresh water.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely love it. And like you said, big water bowls increase the humidity, the surface area of the water. The bigger the surface, if it's this big and only that wide, big can, nope. If it is this high and it's real wide, as long as there's a bunch of surface area, that humidity is going to be perfect.
Are your plants real in your enclosures?
Mine are not. No, everything I have is artificial. I put fake foliage in almost every single one of my enclosures, and I've noticed that a lot of I have a lot of imports, so I've noticed a lot of the animals that are coming in that are said to be farm raised, but you can tell that they have some jungle skin and scars on them. I've noticed it calms them down a lot. Like, I mean, it's crazy how comfortable they can be when you go in there and they have a leaf to hide under and they don't want to pick a fight from you. They kind of just want to hide their eyes and use their natural camouflage so that you as the predator doesn't, quote unquote, kill them.
Yes.
I just provide that so that it just makes it easier for me to do water changes, and it kind of just makes it, a lot less stressful on the animal and makes them sit on the perch rather than looking to get up on a power wire or something on the ceiling.
Yes, yes. My plants are in here for humidity, especially since their doors are open so much and they come out. I have to keep the whole room humid. And if you guys can see, I have hundreds of plants in here. And these plants are huge attribute to my humidity levels. I know something I wanted to go back real quick is your temperatures. We do a 12-degree nighttime temperature drop. We also do the 12-hour, 12 hours, and then a 12-degree nighttime drop. What's your difference?
So I do 12 hours of 84 degrees at the hot spot at the perch. During the day, the cooler side is about 78, 77. And then for 12 hours at night, the heat panel at the hot spot will drop down to about 77, 78 degrees. And then the cool side will be 70, 71. It depends on which room they're in, because the one upstairs, my actual breeding room, it has no HVAC to the room from the house. For heat in the wintertime, it just seeps through the door because it's on the top level. And then I run a thermostatically controlled air, like a window unit with a digital thermostat. And I have the temperature pinned at 70 all year long as the ambient. So it's 70 in the room at all times. So that's about what it gets on the cooler side of the enclosures. Maybe like 1 degree hotter, like 71 or something.
Mm-hmm. So you're about a 10-degree drop or so. So we're pretty similar on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, on the cool side. Yeah, on the hot side, the way I have the thermostat set up, it's 6. But yeah, it gets pretty cool on the cool side at night, especially down here, because if the air conditioning's on and it's like July, because we're halfway underground in this level, it will get about 66, 68 degrees ambient in the room. But in these boxes, yeah, they'll probably get about 69, 71.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's the same with me in this room. I'm half underground. It's like a house kind of on the hill. So this,
it's nice. It's stable.
Mm-hmm. It really does keep it nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got animals in my walk-in closet, in my master suite, and then I got animals here. Yeah, they're my quarantine animals because I get
quarantine animals are in my walk-in closet.
Yes, see, we just became best friends.
When I cleared that closet out, there was so much stuff in there. It sat in my living room for like 2 weeks, taking a little bit to storage, a little bit to other closets. But yes, now that closet it's quiet. It's just perfect for quarantine. So when that animal's out of quarantine, I'm going to need another animal to put in quarantine.
Exactly. My poor wife's been living with snakes in the walk-in closet for 2 years now. I actually just cleaned it up today, and I actually got these new storage totes from Amazon. They're amazing. They have like these locking like suicide doors on them, and they have like clear. The top comes off. I put heat panels in there. It's like 26 by 15 by 15.
Wow.
I mean, the best. There's 3 of them for like $140 or something.
Nice.
Can't beat that for a 3 stack of quarantine totes. It's great. And you could do, I got heat panels in them. So I just carry them around with the probe and plug them into whatever herp stat I go. So I could go right from quarantine directly straight up into the main room and just boom, plug it right into the back of a herp stat, and you're good to go. It's like not too much moving the snake around like in new enclosures and stressing them out.
Perfect. Yeah, my poor husband, he would keep this house at 68 degrees if he could, which he used to keep upstairs. We're on different thermostat upstairs and downstairs, which worked out perfect. That's how this house was when we bought it. But he always kept it real cool up there, and I always kept it warm down here even before I had animals. But now our whole living room's full of rescue animals, tortoises, iguana, king snakes. And then the bedroom now has our master suite has the whole walk-in closet is quarantine. And then I have the northerns that I have that are not in quarantine in the office. So he has 0 room in this house that can be cold.
Luckily you have, animals that don't like it super hot. It would really suck if you were doing like uromastics or something like that in that closet. It'd be 100 degrees in there.
Right. All I did in there was I put a foam thing inside of the vent so no cool air can come out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I in my snake room, I stuffed an old blanket into the vents just so I couldn't get any air conditioning going to the room or heat.
Yep, and I just remembered in this room up here, I only have one vent open. The other one, I stuffed a bunch of old sweaters I wasn't going to wear anymore.
Yes, exactly. Nothing but the best.
We are very like-minded. What's the similarities of keeping emeralds and pythons is stuff in the vents.
Yep, exactly.
Very cool. And I just want to say, because it's a big thing that I always hear a lot of folks say, is that between the differences and the similarities, one of the things we talked about is that the green tree pythons lay eggs and you hatch the eggs. You incubate them and they hatch. And then emeralds actually have their babies live. And so a green tree python has a clutch and an emerald tree boa has a litter. So I always like to say that.
Yep.
Because a lot of folks will ask about my litter.
Yeah, most people refer to some people refer to them as a clutch. I'm like, no, they're live bearing.
Mm-hmm. So we talked a lot about all of your husbandry, and you're talking about that you rain them. Do you also use a misting system at all?
No, I just have like a battery powered like hand sprayer, so it's easy on the hand. So I just click the trigger and I just wave it back and forth, and I get everybody all at once. I don't mist every single day. My neonates are kept pretty much for the first year of their life. They're going to be in a 6-quart tote inside of a just a hatchling rack. But I have a piece of paper towel, and it's completely saturated at all times. Mm-hmm. So if the front of the tub has condensation on it, I know I'm doing something right. So in that sense, like getting the suck shed off a baby, and it really isn't easy. And they dry out within minutes of having them out of that enclosure. If you like take one out to like feed it tabletop, if you're having an issue with it feeding in the tub. So they don't really need to get misted. They just have, like I said, if I tilt the tote, water will pull up on the bottom, but there's still a paper towel there, so I could just peel it off, or I do this little shake thing to it. I'll dump the water bowl out, and if I shake it just right, the paper towel just jumble up like a little accordion. I can dump it right out. So I'm not scraping turds or anything like that. But the adults, if I see them going into shed, I'll spray them down. Or if someone looks like, a little crinkly or something like that, I'll spray it, like they're going into shed, I'll spray them down. But typically, no, they're pretty good. I have pretty wide water bowls. Most of the ones upstairs, they're actually the hatchling tubs are the water bowls, like separate ones, so that we don't have any cross contamination with the parents or the babies. But these ones have glass bowls that are circular, and I've been looking for more of a square Pyrex baking dish that's glass. I like the look of glass. It's clean and aesthetically pleasing. But yes. I want to get something a little bit bigger. But like these ones down here are kind of dicks. Like they just knock everything over. Like the plant's usually upside down. The puppy pad's like flipped over. So I don't know how much more room they want to crawl on the ground.
They want the whole room.
It's good. Yeah, exactly. They're going to be hanging off the deer antlers and stuff next podcast.
They would love that. And I see you have lights in there, and so they're not for plants, and they're just LED lights.
Yeah, they're just for me. All of the snakes in like upstairs in the main room, they have lights, but none of them go on. So what I did was I was having some major issues with the sun beating through and really heating up the room. So I put radiant UV blocking tint. I tinted all the windows and opened up. I took the shades off of the one window that had the air conditioning unit. So the top of it pretty much sees, I would say, sunlight like 75% of the day that the sun is up, it has light. So just like in the wild, they're not really getting direct sunlight because they're not super high up in the canopy. There's at least 100 feet of canopy, 200 feet of canopy above them. So I figured that the ambient light would be just fine for them. And if they do get direct sunlight in their enclosure, it's just like the wild. It's just going to go past them, and it's only going to be for an hour or two or whatever. So this is just for me. These are all my grow ups. When they get big enough, I move them upstairs for breeding and get them really like set on their circadian rhythm, which is different than here. So this circadian rhythm is opposite. I'm always down here when it's nighttime. So their night is day and their day is night. So during the day, because it's halfway underground and there's no windows down here other than one tiny window that can't pierce through, it's pitch black. Nobody's ever home. So it's their nighttime during the day and then opposite. So they have a little bit of a transition when they get upstairs with their rhythm, but they get it pretty quickly.
I was going to ask about that with that being what it seems like an entertainment room.
Yes.
It was high traffic at night, so you explained that. Wow.
Yeah. And like I said, it's this one, whatever that one is. Yeah, she's getting ready to go upstairs soon. She's and it's just like an intermediate quarantine per se. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, or if I have like too many in quarantine, I'll be like, okay, well, everybody that's down here, it's clean. You go upstairs. I'm gonna move everybody down here for quarantine. Then we do a deep clean, stuff like that. After a couple of years or a few months, whatever. But once if I had 3 down here for quarantine and they're tiny, they've been down here forever. So a few years, couple years.
When you put an animal in quarantine, tell us about that process. And I know, and we should always put all of our animals in quarantine, no matter what. But also not just tell us about your process, but why. Like you told me, some of them look like they have some wild markings and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I have a pet store license through the state, which gives me access to a couple importers. So I get really, really fresh imports. Ooh. So they come with, free parasite load in the gut, free mites, free nematodes, which are subcutaneous parasites that are underneath the skin. Everything, anything and everything they come in with. I've had snakes come in with respiratory infections. I've had snakes come in with Nido virus. I've had snakes come in with everything. So I treat every single animal just like they have everything. So immediately getting them, I will, unless I'm getting it from a good friend, High Voltage Chondros, Ryan just sent me a baby. I know that animal's clean, but it is in quarantine, but it doesn't get the typical soak. So basically, if I'm getting an animal, which is an import, I will put it into a soak overnight. It does 2 things for me. First thing, it'll hydrate it. Second thing is it'll give me an early indication if there are mites on it, because the mites will drown, or at least some of them will drown. From there, I will remove the animal. I will then manually dry it with a towel and immediately spray it down with a topical spray, which is a mite spray from just Petco, PetSmart, Amazon. Run it through my hands, and then it gets dry and it creates a little bit of a sheen on it. I have in the past and still kind of do. I take a mattress spray from CVS or Rite Aid, and before the animal comes, I will lightly fog down the inside of the tote that they're going to go in, which is a bare plastic sterilite tote, hefty tote, whatever. You got to let it dry at least for 24 hours, or I do it for about 2 days. Can't sit in UV though, because UV kills the permethrin that is in it. And permethrin is very, very potent, and you don't want that wet around your animals. So I do put a water bowl in there with it, which is a little bit risky. However, the water bowl is very, very low in water so that we don't get some sort of a splash and the animal doesn't drink it. They can't get misted down when they're in there. So I'll do that for about a couple weeks, and regular water changes to make sure that they are visiting the water bowl and drink, because I am not spraying them down. And what that permethrin does is when there's mites on the snakes, the mites have a 28-day life cycle, and they have to drop off of the snake after feeding on its blood in order to lay their eggs. When they drop off the animal onto the plastic tub that has no substrate or paper towel or puppy pad, they will walk across that bare plastic that is dry, that is harmful to the snake, but they get the permethrin on their legs. ingest it, and then they have central nervous system issues and they eventually die and they can't act like a mite anymore. And they can't lay eggs, they can't breathe, they can't do anything. So typically they're in quarantine 3 to 6 months is the average. They'll go, some of them I have had in there for 9 months because I was having problems getting rid of their mites. But I use the mattress spray. I sprayed on the carpet in a big line all around all the tubs. I do a stripe all the way around the outside of the tubs. I'll treat them with Panicure. I think, what is that? Fembendazole is I believe the medication name. So I'll put Panicure inside of the prey items. I'll just inject it into the chest cavity of the mouse or rat. I'll give them 2 rounds of that, spaced 2 weeks apart, and that'll clear out any sort of, GI hookworms or whatever parasites they may have in their digestive tract. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I'm sorry. And then I will nidovirus test them. So I try to swab them when they first come in. Typically, they'll shed the virus during a very stressful event. So I try to swab them as soon as they come in. And then while they're in quarantine, I try to get a mouth swab in there as they're going into shed, because they're pretty stressed out during that time too. So I like to get 2 to 3 negative results from my nidovirus tests. And then once all of that stuff's cleared, I know they don't have mites. I know they don't have or at least I've tested for nidovirus. I've gotten negative results consecutive times. And, internal parasites, I sometimes will just treat annually to random snakes just because it doesn't hurt them. You
know
can't,
that.
Yeah, you can't really overdose on it either. Well, what was that?
What do you treat them with for the parasites that you just said doesn't hurt them?
Internally, it's called Panicure. It's like a white milky substance, but it's realistically, I don't want to say this as a medical recommendation, but my vet's pretty cool. Like we talk all the time, and if I run out of Panicure and I need it, he's like, just go to Tractor Supply and buy goat dewormer. It's the exact same thing. You just got to know your dosages, know the suspension and the how many mgs per kg, and take a gram weight on the animal and make sure you get a proper dosage on it. It's kind of hard to overdose them on Panicure, so there's a little bit of leeway with the medication, but you definitely want to consult with a medical professional or know what the heck you're doing before you start sticking medications in your snake's prey items and shoving it down their throat.
Right. Yeah, I just wrote all that down.
Well, you can. I'll send you everything. I got to find out what the medication name is. It's called Panicure, is the brand name, but I think the actual medication is Fembendazole.
Okay, good. And if anybody knows that, you can type it out down there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ghost has done. My friend Gabriel has a green tree python that he bought as a very well, a good pedigree thing from the expo that we were at together. And he turned out to be a wild caught, and he has been syringe feeding the animal for going on 8 months now.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he's really had a hard time with that. So, it's really important what you were saying about getting the animal, if you're just starting off, super important to get your animals from a known breeder so that you don't have to deal with these things.
I'll tell you
a lot. What you just said, that's a lot.
I'll tell you. So I try new things. So I take calculated risks, with very positive upside potential, and I basically weigh what could go wrong. So I had one of my babies that I was telling you about before that was not eating at all and was, looking, I thought it was going to die. It was bad. As far as like me just constantly having to put meals in its mouth and it just wasn't gaining weight. I don't think I've ever, I just did it. So, probably, about a month or 2 ago, but it worked. I'm sorry. I'm having positive results. I don't want to say it worked. Right. Nobody take this information. I have zero. Don't take this as it. This is something I did. I took Enfamil brand polyvisol infant multivitamins that I would typically mix in with water as a multivitamin for my adults. And on a neonate that was tiny, like 7 grams, I put 4 drops of infant multivitamin in the water. And I don't know if it was, coincidence. It started eating, and it's amazing. Like, it's rocking. It is a beast of a feeder. And I'm just giving it infant multivitamin drops in its water.
Like for human infants?
For human infants. It's called Poly, Poly VI-SOL. But you have to get the one that doesn't have iron in it or very minimal iron. There's a purple label and a green label. You want the green label. You don't want the purple label one. And I'm still putting it in its water, and it's doing great. The color almost went. It just looks better. Let's just say that it looks great. It's keeping fat reserves better. It's destroying button quill that I give it now. But it was eating pinkies right before that, and then it was a little iffy with them, and it's doing good. I'm just going to keep it on the vitamins and just see what happens. I'm going to see if maybe that.
Definitely. I love trying new things, especially you said something very important that I say very often is that I take calculated risks. I will do the research and find things that I've done things that I found studies on for lizards, but no information on snakes. And I've tried that. And like you said, things are working for now, and I can't say it worked. I also am continuously testing this animal for everything, and I figured I was going to do 6. I'm at 2 right now. I need 6 negative tests before I can feel confident. But yeah, things are working as they're going now. And when I have everything's in good health and I can say it worked, then I'm going to come back and make a whole big video about it, because it's an amazing process to try new things that people haven't tried.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of this story or not. Have you heard of the story of the so I went to go assist feed a baby that was 8, it was a neonate that was 8 grams, and the pinky popped while I was trying to assist feed it, and I drove the feeding tongs into its mouth and out the side of its neck.
Wait, I can say shit. Oh
no, you could celebrate. You could celebrate. It's alive and at its new owner's house.
Wow.
Get this story. So I poke a hole, and it blew a hole right in the side of the neck. I mean, it was, the pinky wouldn't come out the mouth, so I pushed it out the rest of the hole, the mush. And I was like, and I said what you said, but I said the F word. I was like, well, this thing's gonna die, because that was dumb. What the heck just happened? Long story short, I pinned it down with a tape measure, and I super glued it, and I dried it with my wife's hair dryer. And I nursed it back to health. I started feeding it mouse tails and whatever, and finally it started eating on its own, completely healed. And I said, awesome, I'm going to keep this one. It's a great story. And I listed an animal on Morph Market, and it was spoken for very quickly. And somebody else reached out to me who's since become a great friend of mine now. And he said, hey, what are you doing with the one you poked a hole in its neck? I said, I'm keeping it. I can't get rid of that thing. He's like, well, that's great for my office because I'm a trauma surgeon. I was like, get the heck out of here. I was like, well, we're going to work something out now. And it's living in his office. It's taken, I think it's at least one. It took its first meal within 45 minutes coming out of the deli cup from shipping. I think it's
fabulous.
I think it's scared now. It's like, all right, dude, I'll eat. Don't stab me again. I swear. I promise I'll eat. But it's a great feeder. I mean, it's thriving. It's great. And he ended up naming it Stitch. So it's like, I mean, you can't beat that.
No, you cannot beat that. I mean, what a great story for him to get to be a trauma surgeon and have that in his office. That baby. What a great story.
Yeah, it was it was a cool ending to a freaking terrible start.
Yes. I also had a trauma, nothing like that. But when my first babies were born, that day was traumatic for us. There was a whole bunch that's a whole big long story. But I had not closed one of my doors all the way. It was open just enough that Azzy could get out, but not get out. And he got stuck. And I looked at the cameras later, and it was a lot of hours. He was trying to get out and actually rubbed a really bad wound in his side. And I sent pictures to the vet. I went down the street. We have a vet that lives down the street. I'm like, please, can you look at this? And he doesn't do that. But it was really traumatic. The vet was like, oh, you're going to have to take him to Little Rock and go see the emergency vet right now. And then I sent the picture to my friend who works with wild emeralds in Suriname. And he's like, oh, these snakes are so hardy. Don't do anything and everything's going to be fine. And it was 2 sheds. There's 0 sight at all of that deep flesh wound. So they are very hardy animals. But I'll tell you that if tongs would have gone through the animal, wow, that would have been really hard for me. But my husband can deal with those kinds of things, not me.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. I said, it's going to die if I don't do anything. You could see the pink muscles. Like it was a football like shape. I was like, dude, this is huge. There's no way this is ever going to get. And I pinched the skin up and put a little tack weld with it with super glue and just put it on cool in the hairdryer, and then finally laid a big bead. And I can't believe that it survived.
Seriously. And then got to go to a home with a story for the whole purpose of the office. I mean, that's just fantastic.
Yeah. And it crushes meals, and you can, just you could see it, but it doesn't look, it's expanded. Like you can see it move, and there's like a little tiny like indent, and like the scales aren't perfectly aligned. But yeah, for an 8-gram animal, 6-7 gram animal, it was kind of sketchy.
Yes, very much so. That's awesome. And Stitch, what a great name.
Yeah, right. And he's got 3 young kids too. So it was like a perfect Disney name for Lilo.
Oh, yes, that's right. Stitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. That's awesome. You guys get to enjoy that now.
Well, there's another commonality between us because when I'm in the jungle, I travel to the jungle and work with these guys in the wild with these emeralds. And I've only ever been actually bit by an emerald in the wild one time, which is unbelievable how much I handle them. But I get bit by other kinds of snakes all the time, especially the Amazon tree boas. I've been bit by a boa. I've been bit by a rainbow boa, which they usually are not like that. But I just hold it till I can get it to mostly stop bleeding, and then I put some rubbing alcohol on it, and I put super glue as one of my main things in my jungle bag. And my jungle guys who I work with out there in different countries, everybody's crazy about that because you can't wear a Band-Aid in the jungle, and you need to have stuff sealed up.
So yeah, that's awesome.
I'll just tell you real quick how I came up with that in the first place is my husband and I are certified to work with wild sharks in conservation. And one time my husband accidentally, it was not on purpose, but the shark was just coming by and his tooth hit his ear and literally sliced his ear all the way open and in like 2 pieces. And
wow.
He didn't want to go to the emergency room because we were in a developing country and it was just not going to be the experience that we would have thought it would be. So he just did this. He held it together real tight and put super glue on it and was diving again the next day. And he just kept putting that super glue on and barely has a scar. So that's why it started me using it in the jungle.
hey, that ocean water, there's a reason they have that saltwater spray for piercings and stuff.
Right. Yeah, it did a good job. So
that's pretty neat. Yeah, I use super glue on myself all the time. And the surgeon, he actually, as a gag gift, he sent me a real sutures kit, and then he sent me actual sterilized skin glue he ended up purchasing for me.
Incredible.
Yeah, so I got real skin glue now, so I don't have to, super glue my own fingers back together after I slice myself open.
That's fabulous. That is just the best story.
Yeah, I'm glad it had a happy ending.
Yes, very glad. I'll tell you another quickie about my animals is I use aquarium lights to grow my plants. And I have noticed that depending on my setting, I can't even set the white lights to 30%. It has to be all the way down to 10 or 15%, or else my animals don't give me the sheds that I'm used to. So not using any lights is definitely a good idea because I know they don't need them. They're just in there for the plants on my end.
Yeah, yeah, and on my end, they're just for me. So they're typically a dimmer than this. I turn them up a little bit for the podcast, but typically I'll keep them pretty dim for them. I don't like to like blast them because they just hate it. And the leaves in the front kind of like make a little bit of a shade. I mean, the ones in the back, you can see the one in the back, they hide under the leaves and they pull them down. It's like funny. They'll climb up on top and bend them down and then they get underneath of it.
So how do you choose your breeding pairs? I mean, I know people choose all different qualities. For me, it's like how thick is the stripe? But for a python, you have so many different colors and different types of pythons.
So my first pairing was the first two I had that could go. So that was kind of just throwing them together. The second pairing's it's been a thing of mine. Everyone knows I love maniacs, Maniquari cross with Beox. I love Maniquaris. I love the cyan blue that you'd get on the dorsal stripe of the yellow neonates from Maniquari, and then the Beox, I just really like the variability. The Beox that were red neonates, they could just serve some wild stuff. A plain looking animal crossed with a mainland animal. So, are you familiar with the geography or the distribution of green trees? Okay, so I could kind of break it down to you and give you a little crash course. So you have 4 subspecies. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Perfect. I said perfect.
Oh, okay. So you have 4 subspecies of green tree pythons. There are the northern island types, which are the Beoc type, or Beoc and num4, which are called Morelia azurea is the scientific name. That is off the mainland of West Papua and Papua. You also have green tree pythons on the Papua New Guinea side. So there's the giant island is there. The far east is Papua New Guinea. It is illegal to export from there. There are green tree pythons there, but you cannot get your hands on them. Then there's a center line, and on to the west, there is Papua and West Papua. That is the mainland. So you have the Morelia azurea, Beoc, num4 island types in the north. In the south, you have your Arus, your Marukis, your Cape York Peninsula animals from Australia. They're called Morelia viridis. That is the old scientific name, but that's what they are. And they actually don't have any red neonates in that subspecies.
Mm.
And then you have the mainland animals. And the mainland animals, you have Morelia azurea poulture, which is my favorite. And the poulture animals consist of Kofiau, Batanta, Maniquari, Sorong, Arfak Mountain region, Tamika. There's a couple other ones. Then Masul, I believe, is also a poulture animal. And then when you go, that's the far west. And then when you go to the far east of Papua, you have the Cyclops Mountain, Jayapura, and Lara types. And that is Morelia azurea utaraensis. It's spelled utarensis, but it's utaraensis, and I forget exactly what it means in the PNG language or the Papua language. But yeah, so you have those 4 subspecies, and my favorite subspecies is the poulture animals, and I like taking poulture animals to the azureas because the Beocs are just wild. In my opinion, they're the wild designers. They come in every color you could possibly imagine. They come in blue. They got black on them. I mean, the animals I put together with my maniac pairing, my Maniquari Beoc outcrosses, I have 2 of them. One of them, my kids name all my snakes. So Pumpkin Spice is he's the king, like right now, of the clutch. And Dad has an electric blue stripe going down his back, but is a plain green snake. And then Mom is a pretty green snake that was a red neonate, but she's just green with yellow splotches everywhere. And Pumpkin Spice is, green with a electric blue dorsal, yellow diamonds in the middle, black flecking up its back, red eyes with an orange and yellow face right now. So
Wow.
the crazy things that you can get by combining two like pretty normal looking snakes, the crazy stuff that happens when you cross certain subspecies with each other is really interesting. So I've chosen to take, I just went on a huge tangent. I get so excited about it, but I basically,
You're so fluent about it all.
I don't know how I'm remembering all this. I don't think I've had a beer yet, so that's probably why. But yeah, taking just, I guess, two animals that I think are cool, and just basically being an artist and saying, man, if I can get a yellow neonates color blue. So the yellow neonates almost have more of a cyan or electric blue more commonly on them. And the babies that were reds more commonly have like a powdery blue. I love the dorsal pattern of a red because they are like hollow guitar picks alternating going down the back. When a yellow neonate looks exactly the way that baby basin looks, except the stripe would be blue, but an electric blue. So I said, if I could take this male that looks like that with an electric blue dorsal and put it onto a female that was a red neonate and get that pattern, but get his blue on that pattern, that would be the shit right there. And it worked. So, or it's working. They're changing right now, and they're turning out. They're exceeding my expectations. I got blessed and very lucky with that pairing. But yeah, that's what I put together the first time. And the second time, I have a buddy who's a really cool snake. It's just a lime green snake with just electric blue war paint stripes all over it. It just looks like something out of Avatar. And I put my my female Aru that has a ton of blue on her. She's hormonally blue plus crazy blue war paint all over her, with the same male that looks exactly like your baby with an electric blue dorsal stripe, and just said, hey man, if I can get all yellow babies that just have crazy yellow stripes or crazy blue stripes everywhere that are just electric, that would be really cool to, distribute throughout the community, since I kept the whole last clutch and everyone made me feel really guilty about it.
Right. Well, I want to say hi, Shira from Snake Therapy. Thanks for coming to our show. When you were saying all of that, I was thinking how hard it would be to part with anything, because you don't really know, right, until later exactly how they're going to look.
So the second clutch I kept because I want to take everything to themselves and basically do a little bit of line breeding in order to exemplify the phenotypes that I was able to achieve with the first clutch. I have the repeat pairing together, and the female just gave me a refusal. I just said that for the first time on your show. No one knows that she had stopped eating about 11 days ago, and she's sitting pretty uncomfortable, and I'm starting to get some heavy breathing out of her, and she's starting to lose some fat reserves. So it looks like we're trending in the right direction. So basically, going back to what we were saying, I was able to let go the entire majority of the second clutch, because my passion, what I like, is that just a huge blue dorsal, as big as I can get it, as bright as I can get it, is what I want to be known for. The Aru type localities don't have a solid dorsal. They are more known for their belly blues, which is beautiful. And then they have more of a lateral striping or alternating pattern that is very broken. So when they came out, or knowing how they would come out, I knew what I was going to create. I said, this is something, and especially the amount of eggs that I had, I was like, I can put these everywhere. I said, I have so many people asking me for babies. These are the ones and that was before the clutch hatched out. Lucas, if you know Lucas from Lab Exotics, we do the Conjure Lounge together. He jokingly named it, this clutch is for the people. So this is We the People clutch. So everybody, I said I was going to keep one and let the rest go and let everybody else enjoy them, because I really didn't have a lot of my productions out there until my third clutch, which was the last one that I did have last year. So yeah, that was for everybody. And then this new one coming up with this repeat of the Maniacs, I think I'm going to let some of them go too. And that one's going to hurt really effing bad. that one's going to suck. But I had 39 of them at one time last year, and that was a lot. And I have 3 jobs. Yeah, or 2 jobs in addition to the snakes. And I got 2 little girls in the house. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have some pairings that when they do occur, nobody's leaving this house. And I do. And then
I gotta have them.
That will be for the people. We the people pairings. I'm definitely adopting that.
Yeah.
Conversations going on about some different things. First of all, someone had said, so if you want to work on a designer project, then you would keep your red babies. Is that something you agree with mostly?
No. I love my reds. I do, but man, I like my yellows. I like them both. I really do. There are some yellows that I have that I like better than some of the reds that I have, and then vice versa. I don't know. I like both of them. I can't pick a favorite.
And then another piece of that conversation was, are your green tree pythons always either red or yellow when they're born, when they're hatched?
Yeah. Yes. They're either red or yellow, but to some degree. No, never green. They don't come out. At least I've never had one come out green, nor have I seen it. But they will come out in very so red is a very broad type of color. Some of the babies will come out more orangish red. I had babies. I didn't have any orangish red, but I had babies that came out fire engine red, and I had babies that came out maroon, like a darker color. And typically the darker ones do the crazier stuff. So my more maroon babies from that clutch have adopted more dominant blues and yellow diamonds. And then my fire engine red ones have developed more of a yellowish flecking. So their red has a wash. It has scale by scale. They're changing green scale, but the red had turned to orange, which is now turning to yellow. So the ones that were fire engine red, like the whole 50% down from their body is like a mustardish yellow, but it's going brighter and brighter. And wow. I don't know. And mom had bright yellow on her, and she was a red neonate, and they were, red neonates and have yellow on them. They might keep it. So my goal was like, man, if I could get tricolor snakes, like electric blue dorsal from dad with the green on top and just yellow splotches everywhere like mom, God, that would be amazing.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's neat to see them because they're both imported, so they're both wild caught. So no one has. That's why I like imports so much. For me, is because I'm not piggybacking off of anyone else's work.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept them all because I want to do my own line breeding, and then by the time I'm 2 generations in and about 8 or 10 years ahead of everyone, then it'll be time to start. Here you go. No one can really replicate this. This is my look. I don't know what the heck it was supposed to be, but this is what it is, and I love it because they just surprise you every time you think you know what you're going to get. They just surprise.
Just before I move on to the next topic, and I don't want to forget what I'm going to say, it's about importing and fresh blood. I want to talk about that. But I wanted to just say too, I saw part of the other conversation was about the basins are always born red, and like Chuck said, you can have some variations of lighter and darker, but usually pretty dark to almost a brown. But the northern emerald tree boas can be also green or red. And I think I've seen some yellow neonates on the northerns also. But I really want to go back and talk about importing because it's such a terrible stipulation on importing with my species. Well, not basins. Of course, we can't import basins at all. But with the northerns, there's a terrible stipulation on importing for all kinds of reasons. We could do a whole show on just that. But it can be done properly. And I would just love to have some import basins because I feel like everybody's line breeding, and with these basins, they've been line breeding for over 4, almost 5 decades in some cases. Mm-hmm. So I would love to get fresh blood in, like you're talking about with imports, because then you could start your line breeding project.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still fresh blood. So I'm going to say that over the years that I've been working with animals, and as you guys know, I also work with my emeralds in the wild. I used to be really sad that my snakes couldn't go live in the wild because I wanted them to be free. But now it was only after my 4th time, but I've been 11 times now to the rainforest working with them in the wild. And now I get tears in my eyes wishing I could bring them all home and spoil them because life is hard out there. Like, we see so many illnesses, damage from trees, damage from other animals, all kinds of ugly things. So my ideas of importation have completely changed because of my firsthand experience. But just because of what you said, bringing in that fresh blood and getting to do those things, that's so exciting.
Yeah, because it's you never. What is it? Was it Forrest Gump? Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Like, I didn't expect these animals to turn out the way they did with the first clutch from last year, and I'm truly blessed. Like, I'm over the top. Like, I'm so excited about it, and I want to make more so I can get some out to some people, and I want to see what the second clutch looks like because I want to see those little tiny heads poking out of the eggs again. It's just the best feeling. And then my daughters come in the room, and it's like a 2-3 day event where they're all hanging out, and it's just so neat.
Those little faces, they just take your heart, don't they? They're so precious.
Oh, well, here we can go back to the experimenting thing to the point where my first clutch, I had a baby come out about a quarter of the way, and I didn't know what I was doing because it was my first clutch. And it was kind of like jerking to get out like this. And it died. It was tied up in its umbilical cord. And I said, that will never happen to me again. So I started brainstorming, and on my second clutch with the Maniacs, I thought that I had a baby that was tied up in the umbilical cord. It was doing the same thing, but I had already prepared. So I cut a baby out that was not ready. It was not tied in the umbilical cord. I don't know if it was maybe stuck. There was something going on, but I cut it out of the egg, and it had a huge yolk sac on it, and I couldn't get it back into the egg. So what I did was I put shot glasses in my incubator because they're sterile. And at that point, it's not an egg anymore. It's a snake inside of an eggshell. So I put a couple of drops of distilled water, and I plopped the baby in there with the yolk sac, and it's upstairs right now, and it's 14 months old, I think, and just rocking and rolling.
You are a scientist.
I am not even
close. You're trying all kinds of new things. You're doing crazy things, just trying new stuff. That's science, So
yeah, I don't know. I just don't want them to die, and I just think of it as like that kind of makes sense. Why wouldn't they? I got the idea from when there was like some crazy experiment where they cracked a fresh egg into like a little saran wrap funnel. Have you ever seen that? And they hatched a baby chicken in like just a plastic bag inside of an incubator. It was some kind of weird, I don't know, video that popped up. I was like, I could do that. The snake's just going to sit in a sterile glass jar. Like that's too easy. And I was going to use an Easter egg, but there was no way to stand it up. And I had to get something heavy enough so the other babies didn't knock it over when they were crawling around the hatch box.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, it's a WWF New York shot glass.
Yeah, you have really done some crazy stuff to save these animals, which makes me think about one thing that we have with emeralds is huge is the crypto, not just crypto, but also other diseases like serpent chlamydia and things that people say, and regurgitation is a big symptom of those terrible things. Mm-hmm. And with emeralds, people say, if your emerald is regurgitating, euthanize it. There's no sense in even trying. Do you guys have any diseases like that with the chondros?
There are a few, but all of the attention is around Nido virus, and it is apparently a lifelong virus. Like I said, I've gotten a couple imports in that did test positive for them. But me taking those risks, I always have a plan B. So I have somebody who's a very well-known breeder, has a completely hot collection that is separate from his clean collection. And the one animal, actually the animal I had that had it, that survived in quarantine, I sent her to him, and she's doing great. She's on a permanent breeding loan.
Oh, she's breeding.
Yes, the adults. Okay, just to break it down, I think that there's way more than one strain of nidovirus. I think there's maybe one or two bad strains. There's probably 100 strains. A lot of them can live asymptomatically throughout their entire life. She is one of them. She actually, we had a mishap where I don't know what had happened, but she ended up getting permethrin poisoning. She dropped off the perch, started convulsing. She had seizures and stuff, like weird yawns, and she was just like on the ground twitching. And I took her, I started soaking her, regularly changing the water over like 2 to 3 days. I soaked her straight and tried to dilute what was in her body, and she ended up perching right back up, perfectly normal. And she had nidovirus. Why this happened? So she was from the wild. She's bulletproof. So the fact that she can go breed in another collection, I don't think is going to be an issue. Now, you got ones that if she were to, say, be introduced to a clean animal, and a clean animal has never had it, and for some way, shape, or form, she's just a carrier, and it's the bad strain, it's going to drop. That other snake's going to die. It's going to hit the ground, no problem. It ain't going to last very long.
Wow.
And it doesn't transfer to the babies if you artificially incubate the eggs. Now, maternal incubation is a different story. And it's a mucosal transmission. So as long as you're practicing safe biosecurity or keeping habits, you have one set of tongs per one snake. You have to somehow sanitize them in between feedings, whether it be, I have a little travel, like the 4-ounce spray bottles, and I just hose them down with 90% alcohol and until they're dripping, and then I just set them off to the side and they air dry and they're ready for the next use. You can soak them in chlorhexidine. Don't share mice. If a snake bites a mouse, don't feed it to another snake. Throw it in the toilet. Don't risk your animal's life for a $2 mouse or a $4 rat. Like, that's dumb. Like, if you're keeping these animals, the last thing you should be worried about is saving money. That's just my personal opinion. When you go cheap and you cut corners and you rush, you kill them. Spend the extra money, get some tongs for every single animal. Go to Walmart and buy 90% alcohol. Now that COVID's done, 90% alcohol is everywhere. You could buy it everywhere. Get yourself some chlorhexidine. Chlorhexidine can be used for everything. You can clean tongs, enclosures with the snake in it, water bowls. You can clean open wounds with chlorhexidine. I have taken pipettes and shot. They had, I had a respiratory infection turned into a bacterial mouth infection in one import that I had. And I took a pipette and I shot chlorhexidine in the Jacobson organ, which is the nasal cavities, in the mouth, through the roof of the mouth, straight out the nostrils, just blasting the pus right out. Wow. Chlorhexidine is the absolute best. It's safe for them. It can be used as an oral scrub. You can dip your, I've dipped a toothbrush in it and scrubbed their whole mouth and got all that junk, because the bacteria from mouth rot will actually like kill the tissue. You got to scrub all that bad tissue out so that it doesn't actually spread. So that's one big thing, is just tongs and sanitize. Do not feed with the same tongs and dip in the same water bowl that everyone's mouth is. That's how you transmit it to the entire collection. Everyone's got to be sterile and individual.
Wow, that is really good information. So we do have a lot of that how do you say it? Chlorhexamine?
Chlorhexidine.
Chlorhexidine.
I could just say it. I can't spell it. I always got to use spell check.
I can show it. But my husband Larry is a dentist, so he has a lot of this stuff. So we have it, like you said, to use to clean everything.
You said he's a dentist?
Mm-hmm.
Does he use it for oral wash?
Yes. That's what this actually is. It actually
Yes.
says that on it.
Yep.
Or
I have different surgical scrub. I forget the exact concentration of the stuff I have, but I have chlorhexidine surgical scrub. It's not cheap at all. And I'm fingertip to elbow in between rooms all day. I'm multiple, boxes of rubber gloves. Rubber gloves are big. Rubber gloves are not to keep your hands clean. It's to keep from transmitting shit to other snakes.
yes, so don't put your gloves on and open the door and do things and then do anything else. You take it off right there.
Correct. Yes. You listen, you're switching gloves. If you're in quarantine, every single snake has a different set of rubber gloves. That's just, I don't know. I'm just, chondro keepers are germaphobes. We are psychotic with it.
Yeah, we are too. I have all of his PPE, which I know what that is from COVID. But I have the whole thing, the face, the hair, for my feet. And when I go into that closet I was telling you about, I wear all of it.
Yep. If I'm in quarantine and I'm like, I got to feed the babies, clothes off in the washer, and I'm literally taking a shower. And
Yes.
and then after I get out of the shower, I'm still doing chlorhexidine up to my elbows, and then I can go up there. But that's like, I'm not sleeping for like 3 days if I do that, because I'm still freaked out that I didn't do it the next day, that I did it in the same day.
I don't do it. I don't do it the same day. There was one day I had to do something in there. Usually Larry will take care of it, because if anything happens down here, I'm down here. So if he's taking care of quarantine, we're totally good with that. But I did something in there one day and I was like, oh my God, I was supposed to feed 2 of those babies tonight. And I took a nap for like 2 hours. I took a shower before my nap and I woke up because for some reason it just felt like if I slept, it was better than, like.
Yeah, because it's like the next day, right? Like mentally.
I woke up and I couldn't do it. I just could not do it. So the babies had to wait a whole extra day for their meal because my mind would just not allow it.
Yeah, I mean, I do it, obviously, number one, reasons the health of my animals, but I also do it, tied with first is the fact that I have the responsibility of doing it because I'm going to be sending snakes to other people's collections. I can't sleep at night knowing if I did something that was not right.
Yes.
I just don't want anybody, I don't want to cause anyone's pets to die, or God forbid, just, send something there. God forbid I was careless and I didn't wash my hands going from quarantine upstairs and I give one of my snakes Nido and then I send it out, and I never, ever want that to happen. So I'm just,
that would be devastating.
Yeah, I'm psychotic with it.
Chuck, I have had the best chat with you. I didn't even realize how much time has gone by, and I could just go on and on. We're going to have to get together again.
Hey, we could definitely do a number 2.
Yeah, let's do it. Before we sign off, people are going to want to know, what future projects do you have coming?
So I did say for the first time on this episode, but a repeat pairing of the Maniacs, which if you go to my page and you see snakes, pumpkin spice, scarecrow, skeleton, and werewolf are all the main contenders of that clutch. I have the exact same pairing together. So female just went off feed about 11 days ago. She's looking a little raggedy, which is a good thing. Ribs starting to show. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed for an ovulation here in the next couple weeks. And if that's the case, then we're going to be hopefully waiting for eggs, and hopefully they're good eggs. So I got that. And then I have later on this year, I have a Biak male that's named Mac and Cheese, and he's going to be going to Deep Blue, which is the dam to the big yellow clutch I had last year also. So we'll be doing hopefully some red and yellow maniac clutch and red and yellow Arubiaks. So stay tuned for those. Yeah.
I'm going to be following those projects for sure.
Yes. Oh, and Christoph and the male that I got another Biak. So hopefully 2 pairings of maniacs and a pairing of Arubiaks, but I only do one at a time. So we gotta wait. They take their good old time. Yes. I only do 1 clutch at a time. It's easier on me and it's easier on the animals. They get the best care when I can only focus on 1 clutch at a time.
Very nice. And I know everybody enjoyed this so much. And especially, I know my husband's sitting over there listening. everybody went crazy over your tongs story and the super glue, and then just the different, putting the baby egg into the shot glass, just trying different things, bringing memories of little things you didn't even know were ever going to relate to snake raising. So absolutely incredible work. You are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. I really do.
Thanks, Chuck. Have a great night. And everybody, thank you so much for coming to our Happy Basins podcast. And Chuck, I'm going to be seeing you again.
Yes, thank you. I just want to give a shout out to my sponsors, AE Foundry and Heartland. Jordan from Heartland's great, makes great enclosures, and Adler makes some great content and production stuff for people's podcasts. So thanks to those guys. I really appreciate them.
Yes, thank you guys for your support.
And thank you for having me. Thank you, Chris, for inviting me. Thank you, Amy, for having me.
Thank you. Have a good night, Chuck.
Yep, y'all take care. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for coming.